Hey everybody, Kevin here with Kevin's Way Works. I just want to welcome you guys back to my vertical arcade cabinet build. In part 3 of this build, we'll be focusing on the frame that'll be mounting the TV. I'll go ahead, we'll get it drilled out, we'll get it glued up, we'll get it all put together, and we'll get it all installed. So stay tuned, and I'll show you guys all how it's done. Alright, so right here what I've done is I cut out a couple little pieces of board just so I can make sure I have everything lined up perfectly. Everything looks great, so I'm going to go ahead, cut myself 2 more pieces, one for one side and one for the other side. And now I have to get that angle marked out, so I'm just going to take a pencil, going to lay it on its side, and I'm going to run it across the wood, and that's going to give me the angle that I need. So I run over and cut this one off camera over on the miter saw, and everything looks perfect. Now it's time to drill out some countersunk holes for the screws. We want them to sit a little bit below the surface just so they're not sticking out. I have 4 holes on each side, so I'm going to go ahead and get these finished up. And here's the screw I'm going to use. As you can see, it's pretty big, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up these holes a little bit more with a larger drill bit. And these larger drill bit holes will just allow this screw to sit in here a little better so it's not too tight. And it'll also keep it from splitting the wood. So I'll go ahead and I'll get all 8 of these drilled out, and we'll be ready to put this in place and get these screws test fit. Alright guys, this screw went in perfectly. I'm happy with this, so we're going to go with exactly what I have. We'll go ahead and throw a couple of clamps in this, get everything in place, get a 3rd clamp in the middle just to make sure everything's good and straight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this screw in. I'm only going to screw it in a little bit until it touches, and then I'm going to back it out. And I'll go ahead and I'll do all 4 like this. Go ahead and get these clamps off, and we'll do the same on the other side. So as you can see, there are 4 screws on both sides, and I'm just going to screw these ones in so they touch. I'm going to take them off. And the reason for that is I want to be able to take a drill bit and finish up the holes with the drill bit, and that way the screws will go in real easily without mushrooming out the wood. Alright, so I have these back in place because I have to measure up the distance for the top and bottom panels of the frame. And the top one is actually at a little bit of an angle, so I'm going to run this through at an angle. And what I did with this is I just used a little piece of scrap wood that I actually used when I cut the side panel to the correct angle. And I'm just going to go ahead and set the saw blade up with this, and that way I'll have the perfect angle. Alright guys, the top one fits in perfect. Let's go ahead and try the bottom one. It also fits in perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and measure these up just to make sure they are in the correct place. Now I went ahead off camera and I drilled the holes for the top part of the frame. So let's go ahead, get this installed. I have a clamp on here to help hold it in place, get it all screwed in and ready to go. And guys, everything looks great, so I'm going to go ahead and get this glued up. I'm using the top of my table saw since it is nice and flat, and I can use the edges of it to make sure everything is squared up properly. So I just put a little bit of glue on each end. We'll go ahead and get this clamped in place. I put some tape down, and the reason for the tape is so I don't get any glue all over the top of the table saw. Alright, so now that this is all clamped up, I need to figure out a way to cut this foam, and what this foam is going to be for is to have a little cushion between the TV and the frame. So I set up this little cutting device. So I took a razor blade, I just jammed it into the top of this plywood, put a couple strips of wood on each side, a couple of clamps, and I just pulled that foam right on through, and it gave me a perfect cut. Okay guys, now that the glue for the frame is all hardened up and cured, I'm going to go ahead and get these little pieces of foam stuck down to it. And the reason for this foam is to give the TV something to sit on. It'll give it some cushion, and it'll also keep it from rattling. Let's go ahead and give it a test fit. This looks good. I'm going to go ahead and test fit it the other way. I'm going to put the frame down. We'll set the TV on top of it just to make sure everything looks good, and it does. Everything's perfect. So what I'm doing now is I'm working on the little mounting pieces. These little pieces of wood are what's going to hold the top edge of the TV in place. And what I had to do with these is I cut out the foam just a little bit so I'd have somewhere to glue these little pieces of wood down to. I'm going to drill some holes in them. I'm going to put some glue on. I'm not sure if I should have put the glue on or not, because if I ever have to change this TV out, I'm going to have to rebuild the frame I probably would have had to rebuild the frame anyway, so I think that's probably why I went ahead with the glue. So we're going to throw a couple screws on each one. That'll help hold things in place a little better. So what I'm doing now is I'm just getting it ready to drill some holes in these little pieces of wood, and these are going to help clamp the top edge of the TV in place. I'm also going to put a little bit of foam on the ends of each one. I don't think I showed it in this video, but there is a little bit of that black foam on the ends of each one of these. It'll help give it a little cushion, and it will help to keep it from rattling around. We'll get these drilled out. I'll go ahead and countersink them, and we'll go ahead and throw a couple screws in each one. All right, now that that's done, let's go ahead and flip this over. We're gonna work on the bottom mount, and I need to put these little spacers in because you can see right here how the TV has that little lip on it. And so I went ahead and I just cut out that little extra bit of foam, and I'm gluing in these little pieces of wood here permanently, just like I said, because if I do have to ever change the TV, I'm gonna have to build a new frame anyway. So unless I use the exact same model, which is not gonna be possible because I don't make it anymore. So let's go ahead and get these in. I know it's a little overkill. I don't need 4 screws. I probably could have just used my staple gun and stapled it in place. I really don't know why I didn't staple it. It would have been a lot easier than drilling 8 holes and screwing in 8 screws. But that's what I did for whatever reason. I'm just making sure this is all even on the frame. We'll go ahead and get these last 2 pieces in. These ones are actually removable, and that is just in case I do have to take the TV out for whatever reason. If I need to repair it or anything like that, I'll be able to take the TV out. And these 2, same thing, drill some holes, and then we'll screw them in. And there's going to be foam on the end of each one as well, just to give it some cushion. So let's go ahead and get these last 4 screws in. Come on, Kevin, take your time. Come on. You can do it, bud. Oh, quicker, quicker. There you go. All right, guys, so all 4 of those are screwed in. So what I'm doing now is I've made some spacers, and these are just to keep it from sliding around. I probably really only needed 2 on each side, but I went ahead and I made 3. And so we'll go ahead and get a couple of holes drilled in each one, and we'll screw it all in place with screws. And here you can see me removing the actual foam. So I didn't think about this when I put the foam down, but I did need to have a little space for the wood to be able to sit in. And so I have to remove all this foam for that to be able to occur. We'll go ahead and get these screwed in. Everything looks good. So now I'm just checking around the edge to make sure I can't see or feel any of the foam. And it all looks great. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next step. The next step is the back panel. And what I'm doing right now is I'm building the little side pieces for the back that will hold the panel. So I'll go ahead and I'll run my tool down here with a pencil. We'll get it all marked up so I have a line in which I can glue and screw these pieces into place. Again, I probably didn't need to screw these in place. It would have been perfectly fine if I just ran some staples up and down it. But for some reason, I decided to throw a bunch of screws in it. So we'll go ahead and get both sides on. Here's the other side. This one has a bow in it. That's perfectly fine. I'll just go ahead and we'll get it clamped in place. We get a bunch of clamps on here. We'll go ahead and get all the screws in. There's a whole bunch of screws, guys. I can't show them all because some of them have some plumber's crack. I don't think you guys want to be seeing that. So I went ahead and skipped over those. We'll go ahead and we'll get this top piece mounted in. Of course, the camera is in the worst position possible. So we'll go ahead and throw some screws in this, and then we'll go ahead and we'll glue the bottom piece in place. We get some screws in this one too. Go ahead and speed screw this one. All right, the bottom is in place. And now what I'm doing is I'm just using some scrap pieces of 5mm underlayment. Go ahead and get all these cut down to size. And then we're going to do a test fit just to make sure everything fits perfectly. And it's a little tight here. The sides are bowing in a little bit, but that's okay. When I get these panels in place, it'll push everything to where it needs to go. And so now what I'm doing is I just have them clamped to each other, and I am drilling out holes to be able to screw the back panel in place. So let's go ahead, get all these screws in. There is a whole bunch of them. So this is going to take me a second. All right, we got all 642 screws in place. All right, so now we're over at the CNC machine. We're going to cut slats for the back panel, and the purpose of these slats is just for airflow. There's going to be a lot of heat built up back there from the computer and from the TV, and we just want to make sure we get all that heat removed. And I'm going to do both of these, and that way the heat will rise up the top and escape through the holes, and when it does, it'll pull cooler air in down at the bottom. So basically it just cools itself off with some convection. Alright guys, the front part of this top panel is from the edge of the plywood, so it's kind of rough, and what I'm doing here is I'm just running through it with some wood filler just to fill in all those holes so we can't see them after we paint it. There's also a big knot on the side, on the inside here, that you'll be able to see, so I went ahead and filled that too. And now I'm just sanding down the top a little bit. We'll go ahead and we'll hit it up with a block sander just to make sure it's all good and smooth and all the perfections are taken care of. And then for that big knot hole, we'll go ahead and get that one sanded out as well. And finally, the part that you're all waiting for, the laminate for the sides. Guys, this is some really cool laminate. You're going to love this. Take a look. All right, everybody, that's it for part 3. I hope you enjoyed that. And keep an eye out for part 4. We'll go ahead and get this laminate unrolled. You can see what it looks like, and we'll work on getting it installed along with some other cool stuff. So I'll see you then.